All right, hello. We're back on today. Want to be able to drop a couple info about the 7 day challenge. If you don't know what the 7 day challenge is, it is a program that we've actually been putting together for a period of time to help people get free from toxicity. The name of the program is called Escape Toxicity, and it is a challenge, a 7 day challenge for you to start moving forward and understanding crazy making that you've actually been through. Like all the shit that he's put you through for such a long period of time, this is how you can actually start to take back your power and understand what's actually going on, what's actually true in the situation. So many people, when they're with a toxic person, they have no earthly clue of what's actually happening. Like they're with a toxic person and they're getting confused, they're getting gaslit, they're getting lied to over and over and over again, and they don't actually know what is true. What is actually true? What is true in your situation today? What do you find to be something that you're like, this is actually true? Because a lot of times when people are with a toxic person, when people are with a narcissist, a lot of times they have no clue. They don't understand the truth. They don't understand what's actually happening. And typically that comes along the lines of being like, oh, this person loves me. This person cares about me. When in reality, they never did. When in reality, they still don't show up as a caring, as a loving person. And you're still left trying to put the pieces together and trying to figure out what is actually happening, what is actually going on. Have you been with a toxic person that you've been in love with? And you're like, this person is the right person for me. And you thought that you felt like they were soulmates. You felt like you were the same person. You felt like the same things that they have were the stuff that you had. Maybe even tried to fix them because you saw traits inside of them that you needed to have. A lot of times when people are in a toxic narcissistic relationship, they are stuck at a place that they don't actually know what's true. They don't know what's actually going on. If you guys are new here, I'm a narcissist. I'm on this channel to try to help people understand more about narcissism, more about what's actually going on, more about the crazy making that happens when you're stuck in narcissistic abuse. And part of what I'm showing people and helping people understand is to be able to break free from that, to break free from the trauma bond that actually has you tied, not even physically, but tied mentally and emotionally to that person. So we're going to take a couple questions. I got a couple minutes here. And if you guys haven't had a chance to see any of our teaching, I want you to be able to check out the link in the bio. EscapeToxicity.com. We've got a link in the bio for you to be able to start off on your 7 day challenge. A way to start understanding what is narcissism. Are you a narcissist? Since he called you one, are you a narcissist? What is reactive abuse? What's the guilt and the shame that you've been dealing with for such a long period of time? Can you actually get free? How do you continue healing when the abuse continues, even after you've already left and went no contact? Melissa, what do you mean as far as like no contact and still the abuse continues? Because unless you have kids and he's like trying to utilize the kids to be able to get to you, no contact means he doesn't have any access to you. So there's not that aspect of being able to abuse you in that aspect. Okay. So just give me a little bit more context what's going on there. Need some serious advice. Set child arrangement plans and boundaries on a text word. It's strong. He's a raving narcissist, isn't allowed to contact me, so no communication. I want to be firm with what I expect. So, do you guys have like a parenting agreement or like a custody agreement? Because if he can't contact you, I'm trying to understand. You said child arrangement plans. So, is there something that legally you have to set up child arrangement plans, or what does it actually look like? I'm in no contact. I think he's a narcissist. What to do if they reach out? You have nothing at the minute. Okay, I would say like until you actually have something written down. If you don't have contact and he's not allowed to contact you, I would not contact. Okay, due to bail conditions from Dustin Assault, I wouldn't contact him at all. Okay, at this point, like he needs to reach out. He needs to figure out what he's gonna do, like custody wise and things like that. Like I would not engage. Listen, three shared kids. Okay, so he's trying to abuse you like through the kids, like either manipulating them or trying to give them different advice or like whatever it might be, like trying to leverage the kids like against you, kind of thing. I think that's what you're saying with that. So going back to the original question, how to continue your healing. So a piece of it is understanding and you getting clear about the story you're telling yourself. Because there's a piece when the narcissist starts leveraging the people that you want. I don't know why it didn't pop up there. Three shared kids with limited access, even to the kids. He used the kids to badmouth. Okay. I would say like focus on you, like focus on I think through conversations. Okay. So a focus on you actually engaging with the kids to provide this emotionally safe environment and to continue pouring into the kids, ignoring the stuff that he's going to say, ignoring the stuff that he's going to do. When the kids have questions of like, well, why is dad doing this? Or like, how come dad isn't here? All these different things, like answer them honestly. You don't have to badmouth, you don't have to put them down, but just answer them honestly, like, hey, this is what's going on. You have to be able to take a step back and realize you are the only one that's emotionally there for your kids, and they cannot be able to grow and have you lead them until you actually lead yourself. So big piece is like getting to understand to break the trauma bond, the rumination that's pulling you back, and to be able to set yourself in a place of certainty and clarity of understanding, like, hey, I can actually move forward from this. So I would advise you like join our escape toxicity challenge. It's inside the bio to start understanding how we actually go about this. Like we'd start teaching you how to actually go about the process of reducing the triggers of him triggering you every single day with the kids, with other things that's going on, reduce those, eradicate those so he no longer has that power over you, no longer has that control over you. Okay. Um, I'm in no contact. Oh, I read that one. I'm young. He's a little older, and I think he's narcissistic, toxic. How do you heal from toxic relationships? Sedona, the thing I would recommend, like right now, would be as soon as we get off here, the escape toxicity course. The links in the bio. Understanding how we actually help you rewire the mindset. Okay, narcissists do this thing where they rewrite history. They tell you a different version of reality, and when you buy it so many times, you start to believe a different version of reality than what's actually the truth. So we try to help people actually step through the process. Like I teach people how to rewire, how to go back the opposite way so that you can get clarity, so you can get truth of the situation. Because otherwise, you'll never get free. Like a narcissist, when you're with a narcissist, they put you inside a fog. Okay, the fog looks like fear, obligation, and guilt. All those things typically control you and keep you from actually making a move in the relationship. They keep you stuck for a long period of time. The only thing that I've seen consistently that cuts through the fog and starts to shed light on the situation is truth. You might have heard the phrase, the truth will set you free. And that's 100% true. The truth will set you free. But we have to focus on the facts of the situation. What was actually demonstrated? What was actually shown on a day to day basis? Maybe he said, I love you. How did he demonstrate that on a day to day basis? Well, he didn't really demonstrate that. Okay. So then he doesn't love you. This is the piece where people get really like frustrated, annoyed, but he said he loved me. It felt like love. Okay. How is it demonstrated? We have to go off of what was demonstrated in any relationship, not just words. If we only go off of the words, you will always stay stuck in the fog. The fog is real. I didn't realize what it was at the time. 100%. Then if you point out the truth, they turn around on you. Yes, because you're not here to point the truth out in the narcissist. It doesn't matter. You have to see the truth in you. You have to see the light of the truth of what is actually going on. So it doesn't really matter of like, hey, I caught you cheating. Okay. If you know they're cheating and you don't want that in your relationship, that's where you're like, okay, that's a boundary that I have for my life. I don't want to be in a relationship with a cheater, so therefore I'm going to leave the relationship. Like this is the process that people have to understand. The truth is the piece to be able to understand, move forward with your life. Like the truth helps set you free from that because otherwise you lock yourself in to a different version of reality. Do narcissists have a weird connection to music? He seems to always show emotions through listening to music. Just a strange hypersensitive reaction. Not sure if that makes sense. 100% makes sense. I connect the most with any type of emotion through music, period. Like the deepest emotions that I will experience in the past like 5 to 10 years have been through music every single time. Not another person, not a scenario, not a dog dying, nothing. Okay, music. So one of the pieces that somehow like kind of triggers and gets underneath something and actually shows, ooh, there's actually emotions there. Feels weird. And sometimes it's one of those things that let me play a certain song so I can experience or so I can feel a certain emotion. Okay. Let's see. When you say go no contact, agreed, and don't go looking at social media. Absolutely. If you go looking at their social media, it's what's called pain shopping. You're shopping to see if you can actually feel something. Or you're like, I don't feel anything. I need to feel something. And you go and you look at their social media and then you walk away not feeling any better. Okay. Just out of text, hoping I can move on with my life without his misery. He's exhausted. Have a happy just out of text, hoping I can move on with my life without his misery. I'm trying to understand that. I'm not sure I get that. How do you feel about when someone tells you there are three sides to every story? Yours, theirs, and the truth. There's just the facts. Okay. So a lot of times people try to use that in a manipulation way, especially when we're talking about narcissists. At the end of the day, we just go off the facts. What's demonstrated. He's like, well, I just forgot. And you're like, well, you lied to me. Okay. Well, here's the reality. Did she ask you, did you do this? And did you say no? Okay. Is that the truth? No. Okay. Then you just demonstrated the fact that it's a lie. Like, this is how I have conversations sometimes with couples that I counsel or with couples that I work through. And a lot of times I don't have long I don't do long couple sessions as far as like I don't meet with people multiple times because typically I'm calling out the narcissist and you're getting clarity right then and there like, oh, this guy's a liar. It's crazy. Like, I can pick someone out a lot of times in a couple sessions very quickly of like who's the narcissist because of how they show up. Takes one to know one, right? Like that type of piece of being able to understand like, wait a second, that's how he's showing up. We see it consistently. It's really wild. Can narcissists actually hit rock bottom, and how does one not end up feeling sorry for them again? Okay, you need to understand. Like, part of you feeling sorry for the narcissist is you telling yourself a story. Oh, they couldn't help it. It's not their fault. Like all this stuff. It's you taking blame for their like you taking the blame for their consequences. Like you taking accountability for another person when it's never your job to be able to do that. It's not your job to change them. It's not your job to help them. It's your job to actually stand in your power of who you actually are. And the majority of people that are with a narcissist do not have any semblance of clarity of knowing who they are. They don't. That's why they typically are with a narcissist. I'm not saying that's your fault. I'm just saying that's how it typically plays out. A narcissist doesn't just go after these empath weak people. There's a lot of strong people, a lot of businesswomen that narcissists go after, being like, hey, I'm going to go after you. At the end of the day, a lot of times it's someone with daddy issues, or it's someone who doesn't know who they are, or it's someone that has a wound that they haven't actually healed. There's a lot of different pieces with that. Okay. Narcissists are so good at hiding their true selves. How would anyone know that they aren't about to enter into a relationship with another narcissist? So a lot of times we're looking for like red flags. Like there's a litany of them. I've got a bunch of them. You can look at my YouTube under Raw Motivations. There is a lot of videos that I have on there. I've got like 30 red flags, 5 red flags. I've got all different ones, different types of ones to be able to understand. Sometimes you'll just see the relationship moving really fast. Sometimes you'll see them obsessed and talking about themselves. There's lots of nuances about it. Are they capable of changing, or is it always fake in order to have me stay? If think of it this way, if they're changing when you're talking about leaving, then it's fake. Leave and then see what change actually happens. When you take the relationship off the table, the majority of the time you'll see narcissists who are changing fall completely away because they don't actually care about the changing. They just care about keeping you, keeping the image, only having to do half child support or whatever. Like they only care about image and money typically. So give you like a perspective. I'm gonna sit on that one for a second because that's a really good question. Okay, when when my wife left, I was already in therapy. I was already changing. But the thing was, I was trying. You ever hear your narcissist say that? I'm trying. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying not to lie. I'm trying like a bunch of bullshit. Okay, trying doesn't actually show that anything was actually happening. But I kept saying these things. So then she gets ready to leave. Then I'm nice. Then stuff changes. And then she decides to stay. Then I'm pissed off because I didn't want her to stay. There's this back and forth that gets played in the head of a narcissist when you're getting ready to walk out the door. And a lot of times you'll get ready to walk out the door and immediately they'll be like, no, don't go. Let's work on this. I'm sorry we couldn't work on this. Like all this kind of stuff because they don't want to look bad. A narcissist cares more about their image than they do about you every single time. Can narcissists be dangerous? Yes, 100%. Please be careful. Narcissist people are all about them. Absolutely. Liars don't see themselves as liars. 100%. I thought my kid's father was a narcissist, but I'm getting to think that I'm the narcissist. So, with that, you need to actually look and question what are the toxic traits you actually have? Like, is that something you have always had that you've always seen? Or is that something that came out in this relationship? Okay. When you do the escape toxicity, it's the link is in the bio. Okay. 7 day challenge for $7 to be able to go through and understand what narcissism is. Like if you think you're the narcissist, that's the perfect place for you because it walks you through what is NPD. What does it actually look like? What are the 9 different traits? Okay. Why do narcissists use the no empathy card? Uh, they typically do not exemplify or show empathy. So I'm not sure what we're using. Like, oh, I don't have empathy, so I can't connect with you, like that kind of thing. A lot of times it's like, oh, if I know that I don't have that, then I can excuse my abusive behaviors. At the end of the day, it's still a decision. Okay. Did you find narcissism addiction go hand in hand? Typically, yeah. A lot of narcissists have very addictive personalities. A mutually codependent thing with a narcissist, I don't know how to stop. So solace is it's about the story that you're telling yourself, and part of it's a trauma bond that we need to actually break you out of. You can start with a link that's in the bio, escapetoxicity.com. Are there different degrees of narcissism on a scale of 1 to 10? Absolutely. You got someone who has like narcissistic traits all the way to someone who is like diagnosed. And then you go past that and you have sociopath and you have psychopath. So there's different levels, different various of it. Why do they like to make you feel crazy? Control. They want to be in control over you. And they think it's funny because they're actually in control of you. Like it's a power dynamic. I was told if you question that you are, then you're not. Narcissists don't look at that. So blue eyes, that's a response that honestly I don't really like anymore. I used to say that. So full transparency, I used to say that on social media. Well, if you're asking you're a narcissist, then you're not. And then I thought about it and I was like, wait a second, that actually doesn't make sense. And I'm incongruent if I actually say that because I asked that. I asked that of my therapist. And she didn't say, well, if you're asking, then you're not a narcissist, because otherwise it would have been like, oh, I'm good then. I can just go back to doing what I was going to do. Instead, it's actually taking a look of like, okay, what is actually going on? What do I actually see? This is why we encourage people. Like, if you're in a relationship and you thought that person was a narcissist, now you think you're the narcissist, like get into the escape toxicity challenge because we actually go through that. Like, there's a lesson there that's talking about, am I a narcissist? Because people wonder that. People are confused about that. Why when I call him out, he'll say I'm being mean or having an attitude. Then he'll say, "What about when you did this?" Until he put focus on me. So it's a way to be able to say like, "Hey, look at this." You don't actually look at me. Like I just did this. Okay, like simple example. I just cheated on you, but you found out of it because you went through my phone. Like, hey, look at this. You invaded my privacy. What an awful person you are. Oh, I still cheated back here, but what an awful person you are. That's what's going on. It's smoke and mirrors. Okay. When you call out a narcissist, expect them to get upset because they're pissed off. You're not supposed to catch them in their game. You're not supposed to catch them in their manipulation of you. When will the narcissist rage after the discard? He was discarded by myself. There's not a consistent time of when it happens. Think of it that way. Okay. Narcissist typically rages when they're inconvenienced. Why does a narcissist leave you? Because they get bored, because they're not actually in love with you. They're in love with the high, with the feeling of love. So they're like, oh, well, this didn't work out. Let me go find someone else who actually gets me. All these things. But would she belittle me and get mad because I'm going to therapy? She tells me it won't help. There's a lot more to that than what I actually know. Okay, going to therapy is great. Like if that's what is helping you grow, change, and develop, 100% focus on that. Why they pick and choose which kid to talk to 8-year-old and a 14-year-old? Typically, it's the one that's going to get the one that's going to make him feel the best, look the best, anything like that. 7 months free, awesome, good to hear. Narcissists can't be trauma bond. It's impossible. They can be codependent. So codependency doesn't even exist in the DSM-5. So it's not a diagnostic. Codependency came out of addiction models. Okay, so if we're talking about addiction, we can talk about codependency, but we're not talking about addiction. A lot of times addiction looks similar to stuff with narcissism, but codependency isn't even in diagnostic criteria. Okay, so it doesn't even fit. Okay, in that aspect, narcissists can typically not be trauma bonded, and I would say typically a narcissist is not trauma bonded, especially with a regular or empathic person. The only person I could say a narcissist could be trauma bonded, and I feel like I've experienced some of that, is with someone else in the cluster B category. So like I was with a borderline that I definitely feel like there's aspects of that was trauma bonded. It's not the same level, and I'm not claiming to understand that, but I do see pieces of it that had me pulling back to that person, even though I knew she wasn't good for me. Okay. Never in my life have I felt so anxious and crazy in all of my previous lives. Yeah, 100%. Is it common for a narcissist not to speak to the child? Yes, because a narcissist doesn't care about their child. If anything, narcissist kind of views a lot of kids as being an inconvenience. It makes it very, very difficult when you're trying to like co-parent or parallel parent because you're like, hey, I'm trying to actually connect with this person and they don't want to actually connect. Like they don't actually care. And then you start doing like the extra parenting role where you're trying to get him to actually interact. Like, don't. If he's not engaged, step back. Okay. When he's not engaged, step back. Let him disappear out of the kid's life. It's better to have an absent parent than it is to have a toxic one. Okay. So a narcissist be codependent. It doesn't go in the same category. Like that's the piece. Like if we're talking about an addiction or we're talking about an addict, then we can talk about codependency. If we're talking about narcissists, we can talk about trauma bond, but it doesn't correlate the same way. Okay. How to deal with a narcissist alienating the kids from the other parent. Some of it depends on like the age. Like if you still have access to the kids, if you still interact with the kids, a lot of it is showing up and creating space and truthfulness about what's actually happening. There's a piece that like sometimes you have to step back and you have to let things play out. Like let's say if the kids are older and they're alienating you and they're like only going to him, you just have to create space for them and kind of wait. Unfortunately, like there's not a good way to wake them up unless they see like either videos or stuff and they're just like, oh, like this makes sense or this is my dad, like whatever it might be. Like until that actually happens, you kind of have to like step back. And a lot of times the kids sometimes won't see it till like 20s or 30s. Like it's really hard. Victoria, we go through breaking the trauma bond inside the course, Escape Toxicity. It's linked in the bio. 7-day challenge for $7 to help you understand how that. When you give like the short answer, basically the way that you break a trauma bond is by changing the story that you believe. It's by going through the triggers that you deal with, the emotions and the feelings that tell you a story, that tell you a different version of reality of what's actually true. And so we actually help you rewire the mindset, rewire the thought process of what's actually happening, because otherwise it'll leave you stuck for a long period of time. Okay. Ben, when is the meeting with Lee? And I forgot the girl's name. So, Kat. So, that is on May 20th. And that is going to be in Orlando, Florida. Good question. So, Orlando, Florida, if you want to look at any of the tickets that are coming up for the event in Orlando, Florida, it is an all day workshop with myself, Lee Hammock, Catherine Kleiss. You can go to rawmotivationscoaching.com/workshop. Okay. That's where it's all housed there. Or if you're on any of the platforms, you can just shoot me a message and we'll get you the link as well. I've noticed that he gives them things rather than kindness or understanding of love. Yes, because there's not a connection there. Like there's a disconnect of actually being able to hold space for another person's feelings and emotions. For a narcissist, it's incredibly hard to hold space for another person's emotions. I think I did an email on this that I sent out the other day to like all the subscribers of like, hey, like this is what's actually going on. It is hard for me to hold space for other people. Have I grown in that? 100%. But it's very hard. Like there's certain topics that my wife has that is very, very difficult for me to actually hold space. Otherwise, like it's so easy to be like, well, just do this, figure out this. Like it's hard. But holding space for your kids, holding space for a healthy spouse, holding space is essential to be able to provide an opportunity for that person to actually grow, to heal, and to feel seen and heard. That's what your kids want. That's what the narcissist won't be able to do that you will be able to do. Okay. Eyes fake, religious, hypocritical display of being devout. Oh, you're responding to someone because I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. My ex has been sober for almost a year. We went no contact about a month ago. I ran into him and he looked hungover. Is he possibly fall off the wagon? Yeah, 100%. He might have just got sober just for you. When are you guys coming to Cali? And also, where's the merch? Been asking. So we had a merch shop and we kind of like paused it for a little bit. We were getting ready to launch some stuff. We have a couple shirts coming for the people that are coming to the workshop, but that's all I got right now. Sorry. We had to kind of pause it because we were rolling out our Thriver program at the same time, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of videos that had to be recorded and a lot of engagement that we had to work on. We're still building some of the stuff in the back end, actually. Let's see. All right, got time for just a couple more questions, and we're going to jump off. If you guys haven't had a chance to be able to check out the 7-day challenge, click on the link in the bio, escapetoxicity.com, or the links in the bio. You can go there and you can understand about NPD. Are you the narcissist? Reactive abuse, the guilt and the shame that you feel, and actually an overview of how we start coaching you through healing the aspect of the trauma, how we actually work and guide people through that. Okay. Vicky, that's awesome. No, absolutely. You might have requested, I just haven't seen it because I got the comment. Are narcissists born narcissists? I believe narcissists are formed, not born, as a product of their upbringing. No, absolutely. You're welcome. If you guys want to interact or want to talk with me one on one, or maybe be considered for our Thriver community, you can go to rawmotivations.com. You can interact with me there. You can set up a one on one. If you're like, hey, who's this guy? He's a narcissist and he's talking about helping people heal from narcissistic abuse. That's because they understand it from the opposite side to be able to help walk you through it. Check out the link that's in the bio. Okay, 7-day challenge for $7 to help you understand, walks you through. There's what is it? 7 days. There's like 38 videos and coaching tools and assignments and a community, all to be able to help you actually get through that. Okay. Does narcissism go away? As far as like if the narcissist is like working on it, does it go away? I don't think the thought process goes away. I think there's a big piece of my mind that's still wired and programmed that way. I would view it like lifting weights. Okay. As you lift weights, you get stronger, right? You build up more muscle. Okay. If I stop lifting weights, I lose the muscle. Okay. So it's like being able to work on myself on every single day. Like there's a piece of that I'm building muscle to be able to make sure that I don't go back. They don't go back to that life. Okay. How come they will cheat but want you to have their children stew? Because if you still have children with them, there's power control. I'm still controlling you. So are you faking your emotions now? No, because narcissists have emotions. Okay. Never said narcissists don't have emotions. Narcissists lack empathy a lot of times, and that's connecting with you. Narcissists still have emotions and feelings. Okay. There's a little difference there. So many narcissists. Is there an epidemic? Yeah, it's called society, and it's only going to get worse. Like if anything, narcissism as a whole, based on country and based on lifestyle and based on broken families, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Fortunately, that's just a hard reality of it. Okay. Faking okay, that's a good question. So, not faking empathy, it's more of cognitive empathy, okay? Like, I know and I understand what you're going through. Do I feel it? No. Do I connect with it? No. Does it make me cry? No. And I'm not saying this to be callous, I'm just saying, like, "Hey, I'm at a place where I understand it, and I'm trying to help people through it, and I can step back, and I can see, and I can help you work through it easier than if I was tied to it emotionally." Think of it that way, okay? Do they ever try to come back? Yeah, a lot of times they do. Please be careful. Okay. The types of narcissists I've seen is ridiculous. They attack you if you help them. Why is it more comfortable where they are with you the more heartless they become? I'm not catching that one. I'm sorry. Mhm. Can't connect as far as like I can't connect with like your feelings and your emotions. Like think of it this way. If you're there and here's the best way to do it. Okay. If you're there and your dog died and you're crying, I'm not going to feel that. Okay. I've had a dog pass away. We had one a couple months ago. Our smallest dog, she was like 13, 14, or whatever, congestive heart failure. Like she passed away. Okay. Like I'm going to understand and I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna be like, okay, she's feeling bad because of this. That makes logical sense. But I'm not gonna sit over here and I'm not gonna start crying because you're crying. Is that gonna make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Like that's like the piece that like now I'm trying to leverage and use for good because then I'm able to work with people and take them through some really dark shit sometimes and be able to say, hey, here's the light at the end of the tunnel. Here's how we actually work through this. Like here's the steps that you can take to be able to get free, to be able to break the trauma line, to be able to rewire your mindset. Okay. If you guys are interested in working with me one on one, you can go to rawmotivations.com. You can click the link in the bio if you want to see what we actually teach and what we do. It's a small foundational course to have you understand about narcissistic abuse, narcissist, reactive abuse, the guilt and the shame that you are feeling by just being with that person. Okay, we'd love to help you out any way they can. If you're interested in getting the link for the workshop that's coming up in Orlando, Florida with myself, Lee Hammock, and Catherine Kleiss, just shoot me a message. I'll be glad to send you the link anytime. Thank you all so much. Y'all have a blessed and amazing day, and we'll catch you guys next